All right, we're rolling. So the motor's installed to the fuselage. It's glued in. The Again, I'm calling it a firewall. It's not, but the firewall is now gray, sort of a dark gray. I didn't want to go with black because black would hide some of the engine detail. It'll be dark enough and shadowy in there once this is on. You can see there's just a little contrast between the black of the motor and that dark gray, shaded dark gray of the quote unquote firewall. You can see the partition that I have for the chin scoop, and I'm calling that a chin scoop because that's essentially what that is. On some aircraft, it's a scoop. It's set back. The P-51 is mid wing. The P-40 has it just behind the cowling. Well, behind the spinner. Actually, it doesn't have a cowling. It has a spinner. But with the P-47, that scoop dynamic was just incorporated into the overall fuselage, lower fuselage. So without this motor, this airplane could have been a lot skinnier. It could have been almost a cylinder. The entire lower third of the fuselage, in fact, probably about, 50% of the fuselage is dedicated to the supercharger, intercooler, and all of that component. Anyway, so we can see that the divider I have in there, it's a little skinny. I was thinking about laminating it on one side with 16th balsa to come close to this thickness, apparent thickness of the cowling, and match that. But now I'm thinking, as I look at some of these photographs, it was a bit thinner. So I may yet just double it with the same material. This is the birch ply material. That's 1/32. This is 1/64. This is the cardstock, essentially the cardstock thickness. That's about double that thickness. So I'm still spitballing around, but I did want to talk about the rest of this scoop apparatus. So there are two dividers that need to be fitted behind the cowling and under that divider. And I wanted to show a bit of that work. So we're using cardstock, and again, that's how this was made. In fact, this was the pattern for it. I use cardstock until I get the perfect fit and shape and configuration that I need. And this stuff is, half a cent, maybe a penny a sheet. So you can, don't be afraid to go through it to find the right shape. This is probably the third piece that I cut out and then adjusted to get to this configuration here. And it fits, as you can see, behind the cowling nicely, and it works. And because it's wood, it should be durable. It was soaked in water, wrapped around a small cylindrical shape of glass, actually, that fit and conformed exactly to what I was looking for. So that's how I got it pre-curved. If we try to do that with a piece of straight wood without at least wetting it, you're going to have all kinds of trouble. Now, this stuff is bendy. That's its feature. That's one of its key features, is that it's very flexible. But even this stuff, to get it to glue on there without causing you to blow a gasket, it had to be wetted and then shaped, wrapped around a suitable cylinder, and then allowed to dry. And then it had that basic shape, and then it made it much easier to glue it to the firewall. Okay. And then all I did at the end of that was take a bit of the 1/16 strip stock, and you can see here I just wet that and wrapped it underneath there to give it a larger gluing area, a little bit more support, actually quite a bit more support. Okay, and what we'll do when we put these on is we'll just notch them so they fit around that. So these are going to go from the heel to the toe. They're going to go from the firewall out to the end of this, and they're going to be configured in such a way that they also have to, they'll need to fit behind the cowling. So they'll have to be rounded on the bottom to match this shape or close to it. Doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to not deform the cowling when it's put in place. Alright, so let's take a look at this and how I'm going to try and shape this up. So the first thing we can see is that the angle here was wrong, so I've just made an adjustment. So now we've got a bit closer, but we're still wrong, right? We need to take off, we need this up like so. Okay, so we need to cut into that a bit more. So let's try this about 1/8 of an inch at the top. So now we're getting pretty close. You can see what I mean about notching around that. And I think we might have gone a little too far, so I'm going to make another cut just a little bit less of an angle. So we'll just take a little bit less here. Start here, do that, and then we want to notch the top of it here, so I'm just going to take out a 1/16 square notch at the top, roughly. I'm hoping the camera can see this. So now we pretty much have our back wall shape. You see that? I don't know if you can see, my hand's probably in the way, and I don't know what else, but you can see how it's notched around the 16 square reinforcement strut that I have there. So that's that shape. So we have the back wall shape. Now all we need to do is shape the front of this thing. Shape it where it fits inside the cowling. So it'll need to go out and up. That's some sort of configuration. So that's going to be tricky, and it's a roll up. Let's see how that looks in there. It has to roll up almost to the vertical. So once this is on, out and up, it's pretty gradual there, but it comes all the way up here. Down and then up pretty sharply. I'm gonna have to look at some more photographs. But we do have the back angle, and that's half the battle. Get this back on here. It doesn't want to. Just try that again. There we go. All right, so we've got this shape back here. Now all I need to do is determine exactly how this, and I'm thinking it's going to go vertical and then roll back to fit behind this plastic. But I'm going to have to look at some images and see exactly what that looks like. So if I come up too sharp, then we're just going to have, it's not going to look right. It has to look, it's basically, it's one of the key features of the P-47 is how this cowling and motor look to the observer. Right. So we'll get there, but I'm going to review some photographs, and then we'll start playing with this shape out here. We're using the French curves to help get the right, get a smooth line when we go to shape this. And again, once we have our template, we'll just need one template. We'll cut two pieces out of the same thickness material. This is the 1/32 material, and make our two dividers, and we should be good to go at that point. So let me look at the photographs, and then I'll come back. Thanks for watching.